Welcome back to my Edmond State Scissor-Tails Dynasty, where we are finally done with the first season of this rebuild, and we went 4-8, which is a lot better than what I thought we would finish. Just a quick recap of the season: we ended up losing our first couple games. We got our first win at James Madison, then a bye week, then we came back and lost to UConn 37-26. We pulled off a massive win against Jacksonville State in what was an incredibly fun game. Then we beat Middle Tennessee State. Then we dropped several games in a row. One to Liberty, Western Kentucky, which was just a beating, UTEP, which might have been the worst game I've ever played in my entire life. Then we lost to Sam Houston. Then we lost to Florida International. And then we came back to beat Louisiana Tech in our final game of the season. But obviously a 4-8 record is not enough to get into a conference championship or a bowl game, which is why this episode will be the entirety of the offseason. But we're going to start with a managed staff here. We're going to go ahead and fire both of our coordinators and see if we can get some higher level ones available. In case you did not know this about me, I am an Oklahoma Sooners fan, and I honestly would not even be mad if Dillon Gabriel went to Oregon this year and actually ended up winning the Heisman Trophy, which is what he did in this universe. But moving on now, we get to try to hire some new staff, and I understand that firing our coordinators probably isn't going to change too much. I just really want to see if we can get some higher levels. For the offensive coordinator job, I cannot pronounce this guy's name, but this is who we're going to offer the job to, mainly because his recruiting tab is pretty much all the way maxed out. And then for the defensive coordinator, I'm going to go after Gene Crisp, who only has interested offers from New Mexico State to be the head coach and defensive coordinator apparently. But what he has is a lot into the motivator, and then he has a little bit into recruiting. Those are the main two that I really care about, so we're going to offer him that job. We do get to take a look at early National Signing Day here, and obviously all of these guys have now officially signed on to be a part of Edmond State. These guys are the guys we're going to be fighting for in the offseason. There are a couple that I would really like to get, but I think we're going to lose out on Elijah Bulla just because North Carolina State seems to be pulling away there, but we will check on that later in the video. I have now jumped to Bowl Week 2, and I guess I need to go take a look at the College Football Playoff bracket so you guys can actually see that. But mostly I need to see if we got our coaches. And we did get our offensive coordinator. We did not get our defensive coordinator, so I'll have to look for another one of those. I think we're going to offer it to Diego Basilia. Yeah, sure, I don't know how to say your name, but we're going to offer you our role of defensive coordinator. Here is how the College Football Playoff bracket ended up playing out. Obviously, I've already gone into the second round, so you can see teams like North Texas, LSU, Purdue, and Georgia have already all been bounced. Now that we are in Week 3, do we get our defensive coordinator this time? Going to manage staff? And no, we don't, so we are still waiting to find a defensive coordinator. I have seen this guy on the list here for a while. He is currently the head coach at Appalachian State, but he does have some interest in going to USF, but we're going to go and offer him to be our defensive coordinator. I highly doubt he's going to take this, but if he doesn't get it, I guess we'll come back and try to get Lamar Brown because he's the only one that doesn't have any interested teams. I don't really know what happens if you fail to hire a coordinator in the offseason. But, okay, well, I guess we're just going to get Lamar Brown anyway because the other guy didn't sign, but we do get Lamar Brown. So I guess this will be our defensive coordinator, and I'm going to really hope he's not completely awful. He does have a little bit into the recruiting tab and then some into Scheme Guru. And your national champions for 2024 are the Oregon Ducks, led by Heisman-winning quarterback Dillon Gabriel. Like I said earlier, as an Oklahoma fan, I don't even think I would be super mad about this. But I will add that College Football 25 really loves Oregon, especially in Season 1. But now, before we go into the offseason, we can finally look at some season stats for the year, starting with quarterback Colt Snyder, who threw for a little bit more than 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, but 25 interceptions. Obviously, a ton of those are on me, and I am not great at reading defenses in this game, but I am looking to get better, and maybe with a better quarterback, I can play just a little bit safer. Running the ball, Dylan Turner was our leading rusher, and he was injured for our final game of the season. His injury doesn't show up here for whatever reason, but it said he had a partial ACL tear, so he's going to miss 5 weeks. I'm assuming he's just healthy now. Had he played in those final couple games, though, because he only had a few carries in one of them, he would have broken 1,000 yards, but unfortunately, he's going to stop at 912 and 8 touchdowns. Troy Walker ran in for 3 touchdowns. Ty May's got a couple on the ground. And then Marvin Sanders, like our third or fourth string running back, had one. If you watched all of this season, you would not really find this much as a surprise, but John Hart is our leading receiver with 845 yards. He also led the team in receptions with 57, but the most touchdowns does go to Ty Mays, who came away with 8. Dominique Speed got 6 on the year. John Hart got 5. Duke Jones, our tight end, got 3. Dylan Turner had 22 catches but never actually found the end zone. And then Bo McKnight only had 11 catches but did manage to find the end zone one time. Who led the team in drops though? That is going to be Ty Mays, probably the receiver I honestly targeted the most, despite the fact that he ended up with the least amount of receptions out of the big 3. Another statistical leader that's not really going to shock anybody is Warren Middlebrooks, led our team in tackles with a total of 99. Tackles for loss goes to Worthy and Wolf, who both came away with 11. But in sacks, Marlon Worthy got 8 this year, and then Wolf and Del Slade both came away with 4. Interceptions, PJ Jones got 4 this year, and then Russell Westbrooks, Donatello Streeter, and Tyree Casper all got 1. But in deflections, that goes to Russell Westbrooks, who got 6 on the year. Tyree Casper got 3. What about forced fumbles? We just had a handful of people that were able to force 1, I guess. I don't feel like I did too bad at kicking this year. Josh Gideon goes 12 of 15, 80% on field goal percentage, a long of 53, and then I don't think I kicked any of these, to be honest, but he goes 27 of 28 on extra points. I am interested to see where this stat is compared to the rest of the country, but JJ Marler punted the ball 65 times this year for us. Leading the country in passing yards is going to be Dylan Gabriel, not much of a shock there. The most touchdowns goes to Garrett Nussmeier. I hope I said your name right, I probably didn't, but either way, he had 58 passing touchdowns. And look at that, we actually lead the nation in one of these stats with 25 interceptions. Now, who was the most accurate quarterback that actually threw a decent amount of passes? I may have to scroll down a bit. It was Jalen Daniels for Kansas, completing 76% of his throws. Donovan Edwards got the ball the most by far this year with 330 attempts. The most yards also goes to Edwards with 1,800. Ollie Gordon comes in second with 1,400. And touchdowns, all right, Donovan Edwards is going to take all 3. He came away with 19 and never fumbled the ball this year. All right, that may be a little bit broken. The most receptions goes to Jordan Hudson, a wide receiver at SMU with 103 catches. He was the only one to break 100 receptions this year. Yards goes to CJ Daniels at LSU. And then the most touchdowns is Isaiah Alston at Iowa State, who caught 24 of them on 56 receptions. So a little less than half the time he caught the ball, it was a touchdown. Xavion Thomas over at LSU had 21, but on 93 receptions. The middle linebacker over at Eastern Michigan led the nation in tackles with 107. Tackles for loss goes to Ahmad Walker with 10, even though we had guys that got 11, so I don't really know how that works out. But in sacks, okay, that's definitely broken. 6 sacks, that's leading the nation? Absolutely not, because one of our guys got 8 this year. I don't know why all of the stats are not showing up here. That's a little bit weird. And interceptions, I don't know if this is true or not, but these guys all came away with 5, and that's what it's showing. Auburn's kicker Alex McPherson attempted and made the most field goals this season. There were obviously a few guys that made 100%. This guy went 18 of 18, which is obviously pretty impressive, the kicker for Rutgers. But the longest field goal is a tie between Alex McPherson and Graham Nicholson, who both kicked a 56-yarder at one point this year. And I am honestly shocked we did not punt the ball the most this season. We are pretty high up there, though. We're only a couple punts back. But it looks like Georgia Southern's offense and Ball State's offense had to punt the ball just a bit more, along with Louisiana Tech's offense, and we actually beat them. So, you know, I guess that kind of makes sense. For all of the awards, we already saw Dylan Gabriel won the Heisman. The Player of the Year also goes to Gabriel. The Head Coach of the Year goes to Tristan Stanley, the head coach or the stand-in head coach at Oregon. The best quarterback is Dylan Gabriel. Best defensive player is Jordan Burch, a defensive end at Oregon. Best defensive back is a safety at Florida State. Best running back is Donovan Edwards at Michigan. Best receiver, a receiver at Oregon. The Lombardi Award goes to the defensive end at Oregon as well. The Unitas Golden Arm Award goes to Dylan Gabriel. So Oregon just kind of cleaned house with awards this year. He's also going to win a best defensive end, Jordan Burch from Oregon. And then best interior lineman goes to the guard from Oregon, Marcus Harper II. All right, best tight end goes to the tight end at Michigan, Colston Loveland. And then the Broyles Award does go to, okay, so first and second place are both Oregon's coordinators. That's a little bit, you know, just insane. Best linebacker goes to the outside linebacker at LSU. Best center goes to the center at Oregon. The Lou Groza Award, which I believe is the best kicker, goes to Alex McPherson. The best punter goes to Tommy Doman at Michigan. And then the best returner is a running back at Notre Dame. But second place is another running back at Notre Dame. I believe that is going to be all of the awards, though. And what does this mean? It means that we can now finally jump into the off-season part of this video and try to get this team just a little bit better. As we jump into the offseason, we have a few players that are at risk of transferring. I'm not super worried though. A couple of these guys may have gotten some decent playing time, like Troy Walker. PJ Jones transferring at corner would kind of suck considering he just led our team in interceptions. But the main thing I want to focus on here is right now we are a 69 overall team, a 68 overall offense, and a 70 overall defense. Obviously, I'm looking to get all three of those numbers just a little bit higher next year. Unfortunately, we do have some players transferring, and I have no chance to persuade them at all. So we're losing free safety Ricky Coker, defensive back PJ Jones, despite the fact that he just had 4 interceptions and led the team, and then running back Troy Walker. That one actually makes sense. He was the higher rated back, but he was also the backup this year. We're also going to be losing guys like Ty Mays, Dylan Ham, Fowler, King. We're losing a lot on this team, including Warren Middlebrooks and Russell Westbrook. So our team is going to look a bit different, and Colt Snyder is also gone. I highly doubt there is going to be anything here, but let's check the draft results just because. And yeah, Edmond State had absolutely nobody get drafted. Not a shock at all. Now, to go over what we've already brought in, a wide receiver in Lyle Shermer, a running back in Skylar Lewis, a left tackle in Oscar Almodovar, and then at kicker we brought in Sean Augustine. We got a brand new quarterback in Morgan Eberle, a 3-star corner in Stanley Perfect, a 2-star receiver in Max Evanson, a 2-star tight end in Shane McSurdy, a 2-star middle linebacker in George Incognito, and now we have a few guys left here, but the main thing I want to go look at is the transfer portal to see if anyone wants to transfer here. Well, I am honestly shocked at the amount of people that actually want to transfer to Edmond State. There are a bunch of 3-stars here that want to come in, including a left tackle out of Oklahoma that's actually from Edmond, Oklahoma, and he would be a junior, probably immediately start at left tackle for us. I had to change around the board just a bit. I took a couple of those true freshmen off, but we're still going after 4 of them. But I added multiple transfer players here because I feel like they could come in and have an immediate impact with us. So that's who I'm going to go after in the first week, and we'll see exactly how well that progresses. With the true freshmen that you just saw, it looks like we are still in the lead for all of them, so we'll go ahead and move on from them. Not going to change anything down here. I did add a couple new true freshmen. I still need to scout Dylan McConnell, but no one is going after him. I just found wide receiver Greg Morris that no one is going after. 93 speed, he's 6'1", 194, a gem prospect. We're going to see if we can get him in here. But then most of the transfers we are currently leading. The only one we are not is middle linebacker Peyton Pierce. Kind of concerned about that, but we'll see how well that stays. Well, going into week 3, we didn't get anyone else to commit here. We're still in the lead for all of these guys up here, the guys that I kind of carried into the offseason. I think we're still going to land all 4 of those guys. I have thrown more into Greg Morris. I actually took off the other guy. He was a bust at tight end, so I went ahead and just removed him off the board. Garcia, we are pulling pretty far ahead on, along with Jonathan Hall. Peyton Pierce, we are kind of losing. We did have a visit scheduled last week. It clearly didn't do much, so I think I should probably just take him off the board. We may do some rearranging here. I do think we're going to land I have no idea how to say your name. His last name is Green. We'll just go with that. Tony Livingston, we're pretty far ahead on. Isaiah Hastings, we're pretty far ahead on. But then Jacob Sexton, Tulsa just came out of nowhere and took the lead. He is visiting us this week, so I am really hoping we can actually pull him in. I did unfortunately have to take off that middle linebacker, even though I think he would have been really, really nice for us. I just don't think we're going to beat SMU, so I went ahead and took his hours and just kind of spread it between a few more people. But let's go to the final week of offseason recruiting. Do we finally land some commits in this week? Still no. Okay. Alright, never mind. We actually did land one. I don't know why I didn't show it, but Jacob Sexton has decided to commit to coming here. So we beat out Tulsa just barely, but we do manage to get him. Well, at least landing that left tackle felt pretty nice. These guys just haven't been committing, but we are still leading all of them. I did add a couple new players to the board. We'll get to those guys here in a second. We still have Isaiah Hastings that we're in the lead on, Tony Livingston, Green, the defensive tackle, safety Jonathan Hall, running back Gavin Garcia, athlete Greg Morris, who should be a receiver. I also found a 3-star gem prospect and an athlete that plays quarterback, and we may have a quarterback competition going into the year. 91 throw power, 90 speed, 76 short accuracy. We'll see where he ranks with the other quarterback we landed. And then a fullback with Cushionberry, a 3-star gem prospect that no one else was recruiting, so I'm going to see if we can just kind of swoop in and steal him here at the end. And I believe we have now landed pretty much everybody left that was on the board. The only one that did not sign with anybody is Cushionberry, the fullback, so I don't really know what that's about. He apparently didn't want to commit to anybody, I guess, but we did manage to land this guy that I just added to the board. We end up with the number 48 class in the country, but we get the number 1 class in our conference, the CUSA. So obviously managing to do that in our very first year is pretty impressive. I am now at the stage of position changes, and Enrique Celestin is 6'2", 228 pounds. He was supposed to be a middle linebacker at a 66 overall, but honestly, these other attributes are pretty solid here, so I think we're actually going to make him our left or right outside linebacker, depending whichever one's weaker. It is definitely this side of right outside linebacker, so that is where Celestin will be lining up. Just got to go back and change him there, and we'll immediately have like a 72 overall at right outside linebacker. The next player up is Greg Morris. Now, I did recruit him as a receiver, but I honestly wonder if he would be better at corner with that 68 overall. I think it might really be able to help us out over there. Alright, so fun fact, don't move guys around too much because I threw him at corner and then at receiver to see where he would fit, and it's just dropping his rating every single time, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So I guess we'll just leave him at corner at a 63 overall. If I need to line him up at receiver, I can. But yeah, that kind of sucks that it already tanked his rating. I moved him over here and he was a 67. I was like, oh, I wonder what he'll look like at receiver. And then I saw it dropped his rating even lower, and now putting him back at corner. Yeah, it was just awesome. And I can't edit him back up because of this game. So that does suck, but I still think he'll be decent for us. Alright, now I gotta be careful with this one because I just figured that out about athletes. But let's just go ahead and take him and put him at quarterback because that's obviously where he's going. One thing I forgot to mention is that after our recruiting class, I ended up leveling up multiple times as our coach. So I had 50 coach points to use, so now all of these are at level 3 for us. But now we get to jump into training results, and I'm really excited to see how much better everyone got. I really wish I could see, you know, a rating that they had last season or something, but I don't get to see that. There really may be a weird quarterback battle this season. Jason Queen is up to a 69 overall. I'll have to see where the other freshmen are, but as of right now, I think he's about the same rating as them. This is definitely an upgrade. Dylan Turner is up to an 86 overall, now by far the best player on our team. But Gavin Garcia is not a bad running back either. We should have a really good running back room. There are obviously some upgrades here to wide receiver, but I really don't see them off the top of my head. So yeah, if you guys see an improvement, let me know. Our transfer tight end, Tony Livingston, is going to be an 86 overall, backed up by senior Duke Jones, who is now a 68. Our offensive line actually has the potential to be really good this year. Teron Atkins is an 80 overall, left guard is going to be a 74, center is a 75, right guard's a 75, and right tackle is a 74. And I have a feeling here that Sexton's going to be starting at right tackle, so we may have at least a decent offensive line this year. Defensively, Nick Ortiz is up to a 78, right end 77 overall for Isaiah Hastings. Defensive tackles is 78 for Green, who we just got in the transfer portal, and Roseboom is now a 75. Outside linebacker is going to be a 77. Middle linebacker is a 77, Del Slade. Right outside linebacker is a 72. At corner, we have a 79 overall in Antoine Copper. Obviously, it does suck that Morris is all the way down here. I will probably just have to redshirt him and hope for the best at this point. And then free safety, Marco DeMarco now is 75 overall, and strong safety, Jonathan Hall will be a 75. True freshman Sean Augustine is immediately the best kicker on the team, so if I have to cut players, Jason Smith will not be making it, and then our punter is now an 80 overall. I don't remember the exact ratings from the start of the video, but I do know that a 77 overall offense, a 79 overall defense, and a 78 overall team is a dramatic improvement. I do have to encourage some players to transfer away, so the first one we're going to get rid of is I actually cannot get rid of Jason Smith. I don't know why. He's not a transfer. Maybe I need at least 2 kickers on the roster for some reason, so I guess we actually get to keep him. So I can't cut the kicker, but I can cut a couple tight ends here, or at least one of them before it locks me out of cutting any more. I think the next guy to get cut is going to be defensive tackle CJ Mayer. He's buried behind a senior and 2 redshirt sophomores, probably not going to see the field too often, and really doesn't have any more room to develop. It's going to be a very similar situation for Alan Redfield, so he is gone as well. Right outside linebacker Devin Redmond, a 65 overall, buried behind a true freshman and a redshirt sophomore and freshman. You're not really ever going to see the field. Next up is going to be safety Josh Pryor, only a 61 overall redshirt freshman. Yeah, you're not making the team. We are also going to be cutting running back Amari Leon, who is only a 63 overall with 85 speed. I got to use him a couple times throughout the season, and he wasn't really that good, so we're just going to go ahead and get rid of him. I have already talked about a possible quarterback battle. Well, Darren Feely will not be a part of it because he does not really have any of the ratings to even come close to competing for it. And the final player that is getting cut from the team is right tackle Derek Lamp, a 62 overall junior, just not much room for improvement, and you're never really going to get any playing time. Quarterback is going to be a really interesting position for us this year. I feel like all 5 of these guys could theoretically start for us. In terms of throw power, Jason Queen isn't the best. That goes to Fane. Teray is right behind him, but Queen is the most accurate for short accuracy. Eberle is the second most. For medium accuracy, though, that goes to Duval, and then there's just a massive drop-off. But for deep accuracy, it goes to Eberle, who has 81. Then throwing on the run, it looks like that one goes to Jason Queen. So there's going to be a lot of decisions made here. And I'm probably going to be sitting in practice mode a lot trying to figure out who I want to give the start to on our first game of the year. The first couple things I want to check though is Shenard Teray is an impact on development trait. So now we need to go see what Eberle is, because if he is a star or elite, he may get a nudge there. He is a star development trait, so he could develop a little bit faster if I actually played him. But I will try to decide that quickly, that way I don't delay the next episode too long. But in the next episode, we will get to go over our entire schedule. I'll show you the first recruiting board for Season 2, and we will jump into our first couple games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you next time.